सख्त से सख्त सजा हो, उसे बख्शा नहीं जाएगा। मैं उड़ीसा सरकार का भी, यहाँ के प्रशासन के सभी अधिकारियों का, जिन्होंने जिस तरह से इस परिस्थिति में अपने पास जो भी संसाधन थे लोगों की मदद करने का प्रयास किया, यहाँ के नागरिकों का भी हृदय से अभिनंदन करता हूँ, क्योंकि उन्होंने इस संकट की घड़ी में, चाहे ब्लड डोनेशन का काम हो, चाहे रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन में मदद की बात हो, जो भी उनसे बन पड़ता था करने का प्रयास किया है। खास करके इस क्षेत्र के युवकों ने रात भर मेहनत की है। मैं इस क्षेत्र के नागरिकों का भी आदरपूर्वक नमन करता हूं कि उनके सहयोग के कारण ऑपरेशन को तेज गति से आगे बढ़ा पाए। रेलवे ने अपनी पूरी शक्ति, पूरी व्यवस्थाएं रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन में आगे रिलीफ के लिए, और जल्द से जल्द ट्रैक रिस्टोर हो, यातायात का काम तेज गति से फिर से आए, इन तीनों दृष्टि से सुविचारित रूप से प्रयास आगे बढ़ाया है। लेकिन एक दुख की घड़ी में मैं आज स्थान पर जाकर के सारी चीजों को देख करके आया हूं। अस्पताल में भी जो घायल नागरिक थे उनसे मैंने बात की है। मेरे पास शब्द नहीं है इस वेदना को प्रकट करने के लिए, लेकिन परमात्मा हम सबको शक्ति दे कि हम जल्द से जल्द इस दुख की घड़ी से निकले। मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि हम इन घटनाओं से भी बहुत कुछ सीखेंगे और अपनी व्यवस्थाओं को भी और जितना नागरिकों की रक्षा को प्राथमिकता देते हुए आगे बढ़ाएंगे। दुख की घड़ी है, हम सब प्रार्थना करें इन परिजनों के लिए।
तो प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी को आप सुन रहे थे, उन्होंने साफ तौर पर अपनी संवेदनाएं यहां पर प्रकट की हैं और विदारक ये पूरा क्षण देखने को मिला है और ये पूरा हादसा जिस तरह से हुआ उस पे।
So the Prime Minister there expressing his condolences said it's very heartbreaking. Let's once again try and listen in to Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
उन्होंने यहाँ पर कही कि सख्त कार्रवाई की जाएगी जो भी दोषी इसमें पाए जाएंगे। तो कहीं ना कहीं मान सकते हैं कि प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी इसको लेकर बहुत सख्ती बरतने वाले हैं।
बिल्कुल सख्ती बरतने की जरूरत भी है गौरव, और ये
असह्य वेदना मैं अनुभव कर रहा हूं और अनेक राज्यों के नागरिक इस यात्रा में कुछ न कुछ उन्होंने गंवाया है। जिन लोगों ने अपना जीवन खोया है, ये बहुत बड़ा दर्दनाक और वेदना से भी परे मन को विचलित करने वाला। जिन परिवारजनों को इंजरी हुई है उनके लिए भी सरकार उनके उत्तम स्वास्थ्य के लिए कोई कोर कसर नहीं छोड़ेगी। जो परिजन हमने खोए हैं वो तो वापस नहीं ले पाएंगे, लेकिन सरकार उनके दुख में, उन परिजनों के दुख में उनके साथ है। सरकार के लिए ये घटना अत्यंत गंभीर है। हर प्रकार की जांच के निर्देश दिए गए हैं और जो भी दोषी पाया जाएगा उसको सख्त से सख्त सजा हो, उसे बख्शा नहीं जाएगा। मैं उड़ीसा सरकार का भी, यहाँ के प्रशासन के सभी अधिकारियों का, जिन्होंने जिस तरह से इस परिस्थिति में अपने पास जो भी संसाधन थे लोगों की मदद करने का प्रयास किया। मैं यहाँ के नागरिकों का भी हृदय से अभिनंदन करता हूँ, क्योंकि उन्होंने इस संकट की घड़ी में चाहे ब्लड डोनेशन का काम हो, चाहे रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन में मदद की बात हो, जो भी उनसे बन पड़ता था करने का प्रयास किया है। खास करके इस क्षेत्र के युवकों ने रात भर मेहनत की है। मैं इस क्षेत्र के नागरिकों का भी आदरपूर्वक नमन करता हूं कि उनके सहयोग के कारण ऑपरेशन को तेज गति से आगे बढ़ा पाए। रेलवे ने अपनी पूरी शक्ति, पूरी व्यवस्थाएं रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन में आगे रिलीफ के लिए और जल्द से जल्द ट्रैक रिस्टोर हो, यातायात का काम तेज गति से फिर से आए, इन तीनों दृष्टि से सुविचारित रूप से प्रयास आगे बढ़ाया है।
So Prime Minister says it's extremely heartbreaking, it's unbearable agony, the loss of life. He expressed his condolences. Those who lost their lives, he said the government is also with those who are injured, and the government will make sure that they get the best possible treatment. He said an inquiry has been ordered and the strongest possible action will be taken against those who are found responsible for this incident. He thanked the Odisha government and the administration and the people of the state and this area who went out of their way to help the injured, worked through the night to ensure that the injured were rushed to hospital. He said the railways is also engaged in the task of rescue, relief and now restoration, so that quickly the tracks can be made operational once again. The Prime Minister said he'd spoken to those who were injured and is at a loss for words to explain and to express his sorrow. He prayed to the Almighty to give us all strength to emerge stronger from this tragedy. He did say that there are lessons to be learnt. They will improve systems. Passenger safety is most important. You're looking at images of Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the Balasore District Hospital interacting with the injured and their relatives. He's issued a directive to the Health Ministry and to the administration to ensure that all possible assistance is given to those who are in need of help. Indrajit, the locals, the Prime Minister thanked the local people for going out of their way, working through the night to help in rescue operations, and perhaps that played a critical role in rescuing more people alive from this huge, huge tragedy.
Well, absolutely, Gaurav. You know, the Prime Minister reaching out to the locals, reaching out to people who came out in large numbers to support. In fact, yesterday, if you see, there seems to be quite a lot of chaos right now at the location. Yesterday, similar incidents were seen. When that incident first took place, it was the locals here in the area who first came out to help in the initial rescue and relief operations. So therefore, a lot of people coming out voluntarily to help. I met a doctor this morning who was here, a retired doctor who had come in just like that, just to help out the people. So, you know, the Prime Minister, in a sense, appreciating this gesture of citizens here in Odisha who went beyond their means at a time when such a catastrophic tragedy befell on them.
It indeed is. They came out of their homes, and as you have been reporting, that locals have come out to various hospitals and they've volunteered to donate blood and this shows the goodness of their heart, that it's not just the relatives of the injured who are coming out to help, but locals coming out in large numbers to help. This also is heartening in this very heartbreaking tragedy, Indrajit.
Well, absolutely. It's a tragedy that has unfolded ever since yesterday, and it's going to be 24 hours now, because this massive accident took place at around 7 o'clock last night, and we are heading towards 24 hours, and yet we can see the situation right now at the ground. I was talking to you about the infrastructure. We can see an army chopper just leaving this place, but look at the overall situation of this area. Prasun, just show this. The infrastructure has been badly hit. And as you were talking about restoration, it will take quite a lot of time, because the first job was to recover the dead bodies, which has now been completed. But what needs to be done is to remove these debris. And in order to remove these very, very heavy compartments, bogies of the ill-fated train, massive cranes are now being brought in. And the approach road to this place, it's a pretty cramped area, and there is a lot of traffic jam on the highway, because a lot of heavy machinery is being brought in, lights are being brought in. You can see all these NDRF personnel. These are the disaster management group personnel who are working here. These are DMG personnel who have come in from West Bengal. So disaster management officials coming from West Bengal. There are Odisha police officials who are still there. And of course, as I have been saying, that in any such situation, crowd management becomes very, very essential. It seems like suddenly all through the day, because of the VIP movement, there were massive restrictions. But now what has happened is, now that the VIPs have left, the Prime Minister has left, the Bengal Chief Minister, the State Chief Minister, they've all left, and suddenly barrage of crowd, coming in to see the remains of the catastrophic tragedy that has taken place here in Odisha. Gaurav?
You're on ground zero right now, close to 23 hours after that huge incident, huge tragedy. From ground zero, what more can you tell us? I mean, look at the intensity of that tragedy. What have you been able to piece together interacting with railways officials on ground?
Hello. Well, it's unfathomable as to what has taken place here. Since morning, we've been seeing these coaches. I've been inside one of these coaches as well. But what I would like to show the audience right now is the absolute destruction of the overhead wire and the railway, infrastructure. Look at this place. Prashul, if you can show this. These overhead cables, they have all torn apart. And they needs restoration.
Okay, give me a moment, Indrajit. Indrajit, there's breaking news coming in. Breaking news coming in from Bengal. The bus carrying the injured passengers from Balasore has met with an accident in West Midnapur. The injured passengers were being taken to different districts from Balasore, from Baleswar. The bus met with an accident in Medinipur. Those injured in Balasore train accident were being taken and sent to different districts of the state. We are now being told that one bus met with an accident on National Road 60 in front of Medinipur, and several people have been injured. Of course, fortunately, minor injuries. That's the information that's coming in right now. This too was a head-on collision between the pickup van and the bus. Heavy traffic jam on the national highway after this incident. The police are now on ground zero. The police are rescuing the injured and taking them to hospital. Now you can look at this image of that pickup truck and that bus damaged after this incident in West Medinipur. And this was the bus that was carrying the injured from the train tragedy. That was a collision. They went on to this bus, and this bus had a head-on collision with a pickup van. Fortunately, Indrajit, just very fortunate that these are all minor injuries. At least that's what the initial information seems to indicate. I mean, for these passengers, it's a double whammy.
Well, absolutely. You know, they're fortunate that it wasn't a major mishap, but it seems like West Bengal and Odisha is going through a bad patch after this major tragedy. Now when they were brought back to West Midnapur, and West Midnapur, by the way, is an adjoining district to Odisha. You can easily move to Balasore via West Midnapur, and that's how they were being taken through buses. An unfortunate incident took place. However, there were minor injuries, so nobody died, no casualties. But coming back to what's happening, hectic activity, as you can see, literally on war footing. Multiple agencies, massive cranes brought in, massive JCBs brought in to dismantle and quickly remove these bogies, the bogies that were there since yesterday. If my camera person can show, this is the kind of JCBs that are being used. Several of the tracks which has been uprooted, they are being removed right now so that new tracks can be laid here. So it's a humongous restoration work that is underway right now, so that the station is just about 200 meters away on my left, and this tragedy took place right next to the station when the trains were coming out. And this entire area needs to be cleared. This is within a range of 1 kilometer, and it's absolutely chaotic. If you can see multiple agencies working in, if you can give a top shot and show our viewers the sense. It's going to be nightfall very soon. Lights would be on, and overnight we believe that this operation will be conducted. And there is a lot of energy, and bars lights are being brought in, as I said, because it's going to be pitch dark, and it's the entire work is going on a war footing, because this track needs to be operational once again. Unless that happens,
yes.
Trains won't be able to come on this track. So in order to operationalize this railway route via Balasore, which is a very important route, mind you, the multi-agency restoration work is currently underway. Gaurav.
Stay with me and I'll come back to you on this, but for the moment I quickly want to cut across and once again listen into Prime Minister Narendra Modi, where he insists the strongest possible action will be taken against those responsible for this massive train tragedy.
असह्य वेदना मैं अनुभव कर रहा हूं, और अनेक राज्यों के नागरिक इस यात्रा में कुछ न कुछ उन्होंने गंवाया है। जिन लोगों ने अपना जीवन खोया है, ये बहुत बड़ा दर्दनाक और वेदना से भी परे मन को विचलित करने वाला, जिन परिवारजनों को इंजरी हुई है उनके लिए भी सरकार उनके उत्तम स्वास्थ्य के लिए कोई कोर कसर नहीं छोड़ेगी। जो परिजन हमने खोए हैं वो तो वापस नहीं ले पाएंगे, लेकिन सरकार उनके दुख में, उन परिजनों के दुख में उनके साथ है। सरकार के लिए ये घटना अत्यंत गंभीर है। हर प्रकार की जांच के निर्देश दिए गए हैं, और जो भी दोषी पाया जाएगा उसको सख्त से सख्त सजा हो, उसे बख्शा नहीं जाएगा। मैं उड़ीसा सरकार का भी, यहाँ के प्रशासन के सभी अधिकारियों का, जिन्होंने जिस तरह से इस परिस्थिति में अपने पास जो भी संसाधन थे लोगों की मदद करने का प्रयास किया, मैं यहाँ के नागरिकों का भी हृदय से अभिनंदन करता हूँ, क्योंकि उन्होंने इस संकट की घड़ी में चाहे ब्लड डोनेशन का काम हो, चाहे रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन में मदद की बात हो, जो भी उनसे बन पड़ता था करने का प्रयास किया है। खास करके इस क्षेत्र के युवकों ने रात भर मेहनत की है। मैं इस क्षेत्र के नागरिकों का भी आदरपूर्वक नमन करता हूं कि उनके सहयोग के कारण ऑपरेशन को तेज गति से आगे बढ़ा पाए। रेलवे ने अपनी पूरी शक्ति, पूरी व्यवस्थाएं रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन में आगे रिलीफ के लिए और जल्द से जल्द ट्रैक रिस्टोर हो, यातायात का काम तेज गति से फिर से आए, इन तीनों दृष्टि से सुविचारित रूप से प्रयास आगे बढ़ाया है। लेकिन एक दुख की घड़ी में मैं आज स्थान पर जाकर के सारी चीजों को देख करके आया हूं। अस्पताल में भी जो घायल नागरिक थे उनसे मैंने बात की है। मेरे पास शब्द नहीं है इस वेदना को प्रकट करने के लिए, लेकिन परमात्मा हम सबको शक्ति दे कि हम जल्द से जल्द इस दुख की घड़ी से निकले।
This tragedy is truly heartbreaking, but what is heartening is the fact that locals came out in large numbers, worked through the night to rescue as many people as was possible and took them to hospital as quickly as possible. Also, the state disaster response teams, they acted quickly, taking the injured to hospital. But now is that bigger question, while the work is on for restoration of the track, equally important to fix accountability. Who's responsible for more than 260 deaths and more than 900 injuries? We will continue to ask those tough questions. A quick break. News and updates continue on India Today. Stay with us.
Funding winter is taking a heavy toll on Indian startups. Sakshi?
Well, that's right. It's another day, another write-down, and valuation cuts continue to plague unicorn startups in India. Now, we've seen in the recent weeks that many marquee investors have been slashing valuations of a number of new age technology companies, including Byju's, Ola, and even Swiggy. In fact, it's Byju's which has faced a reduction in valuations by BlackRock, the global leader in asset management, for the second time this year. In fact, BlackRock, which owns less than 1% in Byju's, has now valued the firm at $8.2 billion. That is 62.7% lower than the $22 billion valuation that the company was ascribed to in October of 2022. Now, this markdown comes right after February, when BlackRock had slashed the valuation of Byju's to about $11 billion. Now, apart from this, US-based investor Fidelity Investments has also cut the fair value of its holding in e-commerce firm Meesho by around 10% to around $4.4 billion. Now, it had originally led a Series F round in the startup at a valuation of $4.9 billion. Now, remember that valuation is a mix of fundamentals, potential and market sentiment, and the current market sentiment is driven by high interest rates and has increased the cost of capital and has also forced startups to focus more on profitability rather than growth. Now, in the absence of profits and the external validations of valuations through funding rounds, accounting standards and investor risk frameworks definitely demand markdowns of valuations. Experts, however, believe that although markdowns do not directly impact the companies, they may still have unfavorable implications for the future funding rounds of these companies and even the IPO plans of these firms going forward.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Now.
Pranav Salkar saw his mother struggle to get water after coming back from work every day. The nearest source of water was half a kilometer away. Pained by this sight, the 14-year-old took matters into his own hands. He started digging a well, and in 4 days, he struck gold.
त्यांना मी एक सूचना दिली होती का इथे कोण कण थोडंसा पाणी लागतो का आपण बघूया. नंतर आम्ही मग कामावर जायची सुरुवात केली. मग त्यांनी मनापासून सुरुवात केली खोदायला. त्याच्याकरता त्यांनी खोदता 3-4 दिवस त्यांनी लावले आणि पाणी लागलं.
Pranav's parents speak fondly of their son's efforts. They recount how he had made a ladder to dig out soil from the pit.
आम्ही मजुरी करतो आणि संध्याकाळी येतो काम करून. मग मला त्रास होतो म्हणून माझ्या मुलाने विहीर खोदली 4 दिवसात. मला आनंद वाटतो.
ते पाणी तुम्ही वापरता का?
त्या पाणी आम्ही वापरतो.
Kelve village in Palghar gets piped water thrice a week. To Pranav's parents, who work as labourers, the well is a relief. And it goes without saying, Pranav is now a hero in his village. Bureau Report, India Today.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 39 and minimum 26 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 33 and minimum 28 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 41 and minimum 29 degrees. Bengaluru, maximum 34 and minimum 25 degrees. Chennai, maximum 37 and minimum 30 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 40 and minimum 31 degrees.
Rahul Srivastava has been waiting very patiently. Rahul, weigh in on Rahul Gandhi calling the Indian Union Muslim League completely secular party, and Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur saying they see Hindus as terrorists and Muslim League as secular.
Gaurav, political parties handing out these secular, communal, national, anti-national certificates is a separate debate. The Congress has tied up with Shiv Sena, which was at one time communal. The BJP tied up with PDP. So these are debates which are different. If you see the current context in the last 50 odd years, one can say that the IOML has tried to establish itself, its legitimacy as a political party representing minority interest within the what I call the pluralistic Indian polity. There have been not many charges vis-a-vis anti-Hindu statements and others. They attack the BJP. That's a different matter altogether. What Shehzad says, rightly, history records it. I don't know whether it really happened, but history records it. The Jawaharlal Nehru, with the divisive agenda of Jena, did oppose the reorganization of Muslim League if it was happening. And in fact, he told Lord Mountbatten, the Governor General at that time, that the government eventually should be crushing these kind of attempts. But Gaurav, what in the last few years one has known the IOML, I will like to relate that it is more steeped in orthodoxy and conservatism. The ban on Haritha movement, the students' union, that it was dissolved in 2021 when there were sexual charges, harassment charges leveled by girls. January 2023, the LGBTQ community, the remarks were regressive. December 2021, Abdul Rahman Radat Ali spoke against the mixed schooling being given students, boys and girls sitting together. They said that it will promote homosexuality. Beyond that, let's see what political parties have been doing. 20th March 2023, RSS leaders who were at that time on a Muslim outreach program with Jamaat-e-Ulama-e Hind and others, PN Ishwaran, State Prant Karewahak of the RSS, he said that the IOML, despite the IOML coalition with the Congress, was a democratic party and did not promote extremist views.
Okay.
KNA Khadir of the IOML was there at a function called Sneh Bodhi Cultural Meeting in the Kesari Bhavan in Kozhikode, June 2022. So RSS has been making overtures to the IOML.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 39 and minimum 26 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 33 and minimum 28 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 41 and minimum 29 degrees. Bengaluru, maximum 34 and minimum 25 degrees. Chennai, maximum 37 and minimum 30 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 40 and minimum 31 degrees.
$288 people dead, 56 grievously injured, 747 with minor injuries, a total of 1,091 people impacted. This is one of the worst railway tragedies in recent times. We are tracking every aspect. We are trying to determine what went wrong, why, and who's responsible, and that's part of our live and continuing coverage here on India Today.
One of India's worst train tragedies. Three trains crash, nearly 300 dead. Survivors escape death by just inches. India numbed by the scale of this tragedy. Prime Minister's presence, a balm for the wounded. Will the Prime Minister ensure someone pays for this? What is the cost of 280 Indian lives?
The government has been working on a new railway safety mechanism called Kavach. Kavach unfortunately wasn't installed on the line where this accident took place. We'll try and determine why not, what's the hold up, and could this terrible, terrible tragedy have been prevented. Here are the headlines. We're tracking this. Prime Minister Modi takes stock of the situation in Balasore, meets survivors in the hospital, promises that the guilty will not be spared.
जो भी दोषी पाया जाएगा उसको सख्त से सख्त सजा हो, उसे बख्शा नहीं जाएगा.
Signalling failure led to one of India's worst train tragedies. India Today accesses preliminary probe report into the Odisha train accident. Death toll rises to 280 in the Odisha train tragedy. Thousands injured. Locals line up at Balasore hospital to donate blood. Politics erupts over the tragedy. Mamata Banerjee says anti-collision system wasn't working while standing next to the Railways Minister. Ashwani Vaishnav fact-checks the Bengal Chief Minister after she claims that 500 people are dead.
मैंने तो सुना कि इसमें 500 भी हो सकता है. 3 डिब्बा अभी तक नहीं रेस्क्यू हुआ है.
सारा कंप्लीट हो गया.
आपको कंप्लीट होने के बाद कितना हुआ? 238 कल था. उसका बाद
आज का जो ऑफिशियल स्टेट गवर्नमेंट का जो डेटा है वो 238.
Bus carrying survivors of the Balasore accident meets with an accident in West Midnapur. No casualties reported. Nearly 300 dead with over 1,000 injured. This is one of India's worst train tragedies. A triple train collision with survivors escaping death by just inches.
India is numbed by the scale of this train tragedy. Here's how the horror unfolded.
Three coaches derailed, more than 280 dead. India's worst train tragedy in more than 2 decades struck Odisha on Friday. Two passenger trains and a goods train collided in Balasore district in a turn of events that left scores of families in 4 states in grief. At 6:55 p.m., the Coromandel Express from Shalimar to Chennai was moving at a high speed as it approached Bahanaga station, where it had no stop. It took to a loop line where a goods train was already parked. The Coromandel Express hit the goods train head-on. The impact was such, 21 of its coaches derailed. 3 of them fell on the adjacent track on which the Yeshwanthpur-Howrah Express was moving. The derailed bogies of the Coromandel hit the incoming train. The 2 rear coaches of the Yeshwanthpur-Howrah Express also derailed. It all happened in 5 minutes, leaving twisted coaches and lifeless bodies strewn all around. The crash site was about 250 kilometers south of Kolkata and 170 kilometers north of Bhubaneswar, the distance making relief all the more tough.
बार में ट्रेन गिर गया, पीछे वाला जो जनरल बोगी हमारा गिर गया, तो हम जाल लगा साइड पे था, जो भी सामान टामान है पूरा मेरे हाथ पे गिर गया और एक हाथ जाला से निकल गया। जितने लोग थे मेरे आमने सामने बहुत आदमी का खून खान हुआ, कोई मर गया।
जो बोगी में हम लोग था बीच वाला दरवाजा तोड़ दिया है, उसको भी खत्म कर दिया है और साथ में लिया तो वो दूसरा बोगी में था, उसको तो पता भी नहीं लगा अभी तक कहाँ है कहाँ नहीं है।
The task was huge. Most of the coaches had suffered damage. Passengers had to be pulled out, in some cases cutting through the mangled iron debris.
भीषण गर्मी है यहाँ पे और एनडीआरएफ की टीम, आर्मी की टीम, ओडिशा डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट की टीम सब सुबह से डटे हुए हैं। पूरी रात वो लोग ये काम किए हैं। जिस बोगी को इस वक्त काटने की कोशिश हो रही है गैस कटर से, अब देखिए उस बोगी का हाल क्या है। 3 बोगी एक के ऊपर दूसरा वहाँ पे चढ़ गया है। मैं आपको दिखाने की कोशिश करूँगा। ये देखिए यहाँ पे 3 बोगियाँ हैं। पहले ये है मालगाड़ी सबसे नीचे, उसके ऊपर जो काटा जा रहा है वो एक बोगी है और उसके ऊपर और एक बोगी है। ये दोनों ही बोगी कोरोमंडल एक्सप्रेस का है और जो काटने की कोशिश हो रही है, हम लोग सुबह से देख रहे थे, बहुत ही परेशानी हो रही है एनडीआरएफ की टीम को उस मलबे को साफ करके वहाँ से डेड बॉडी निकालने की।
Rescuers moved from one bogie to another, looking for life.
देखिए ये इतना भीषण अभिघात है। ये जो ट्रेन है ये कोरोमंडल एक्सप्रेस के जो पार्सल वैन है बिल्कुल पलट चुका है और इतना भीषण था ये हादसा कि इसके बगल वाले जो इलेक्ट्रिक के जो खंबे थे, बिजली के खंबे जिसके जरिए इन पटरियों पर रफ्तार पकड़ती हुई ये ट्रेनें दौड़ती है, वो बिल्कुल उखड़ गया, बिल्कुल यहाँ से वहाँ हो गया और वो बिल्कुल पलट चुका है। ये वो जगह है जहाँ पर सबसे ज्यादा हादसे की जो निशान अब देखी जा सकती है।
Over 200 ambulances, 50 buses and 45 mobile health units were rushed to the site. More than 1,200 personnel deployed. By Saturday morning, the Indian Air Force and Indian Army too joined the rescue operations.
एनडीआरएफ की टीम पहली टीम ही 1.25 घंटे के अंदर वहां पहुंच गई थी। उसके बाद हमने 8 एडिशनल टीमें भेजी हैं। टोटल 9 टीमें वहां काम कर रही हैं। 300 रेस्क्यूज हैं। उसके साथ साथ में स्टेट डिजास्टर रिस्पांस फोर्स की बड़ी संख्या ऑर्डरएफ की वहां उपलब्ध है। तो मैन पावर की, इक्विपमेंट की कोई कमी नहीं है। लेकिन एक बहुत ही बड़ा हादसा है। काफी कोचेज इन्वॉल्व हैं। जिस मोमेंटम से क्रश हुए हैं उसमें घुसने में दिक्कत इस तरह की आती है कि लाइव विक्टिम हो तो कटिंग में उसको नुकसान ना हो, तो हमें बहुत ध्यान से काम करना पड़ता है।
Railway sources tell India Today initial signs point to signal failure. How did the Coromandel Express land on a loop line with a parked goods train? An error that has cost hundreds of lives. Bureau Report, India Today.
I want to go across live to the accident site in Balasore in Odisha. Joining us from there as our West Bengal Bureau Chief Indrajit Kundu. Joining him is our colleague Ritvik Mondal from the accident spot. Indrajit, to you first. Has the track been cleared? One of the things the Prime Minister spoke of was the effort being made to try and clear the track so that railway trains could start plying on this track again. Has that process been completed or not yet?
The process is underway, but it'll take quite a lot of time because it's quite a Herculean task, Rahul, to remove all these massive, compartments which are completely mangled and lying on top of each other. The visuals speak for themselves. Just a short while back, about 5 minutes back, we saw, the Yashwantpur Express, which was the third train in this entire collision that was finally pulled away through the track. But the other two track completely destroyed, given the goods vehicle and the impact of the Coromandel Express. We can see very heavy duty cranes that have been put into action, and that happened all through this morning. All these cranes and hardware were brought in. Lights have been fixed. It's going to be a long light. It started last night, but today is going to be very important. But one good factor, of course, is that the Odisha government had this clear-cut challenge to, recover all the dead bodies, because it's very hot and sultry. The dead bodies will decompose. So therefore, all the bodies have now been recovered from the debris, and they have been shifted to a nearby school, which has been turned into a morgue, and the process of identification is going on. So there are no dead bodies there. I spoke to a doctor this morning, and he said the chances of survival, even if there is somebody stuck there, is absolutely nil. So in that sense, there is no survival possibilities of anybody in there. So the only thing that the railways, along with other agencies, are trying to do is clear the passage. It's about 1 kilometer. I'll try and ask my camera person to show my right. It's about 1 kilometer stretch. If my camera person can pan and show to the audience, and massive, earth movers, cranes have all been put together now so that quickly all these mangled bogies can be removed. But one issue, of course, that seems to be, a difficulty for the law enforcement agencies is that there are too many bystanders who are coming in, and since morning we saw that there has been good crowd management, because a lot of VIPs were moving in. The Odisha Chief Minister, West Bengal Chief Minister, Union Minister, and of course the Prime Minister. As soon as the Prime Minister chauffeur left, it was a free-for-all, and a lot of people, thousands of them, have actually come here and gathered. That remains a challenge. However, the Odisha agencies are on the task to clear the debris behind me within the next few days. Rahul.
Okay, I want to go across to Milan Sharma. Milan tracks the Railways Ministry for us. Now, one of the things that the government has been tom-tomming is this new railway security system, Kavach, that's been put in place. And the whole idea of Kavach is that it acts as an automatic train protection system, which could have potentially prevented this kind of an accident. Now, the railways in India has a total route length of 68,000 odd kilometers, out of which Kavach has been installed only on 1,455 kilometers so far. So this anti-collision system, which could have potentially prevented this accident, hadn't been installed, and this government has been claiming that railway safety is one of their biggest achievements.
Well, that's right, Rahul. In the information that we have, the covered system was not operational on this particular route in Balasore, where the Yashwantpur Howrah Express and the Coromandel Express lines were passing through. Remember that the Minister Railway Ashwini Vaishnav had done a trial of the covered system on one of the railway lines in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana earlier as well. But of course, the mandate was to install the covered software and systems in big express trains and very busy express trains like the Howrah-Mumbai, Howrah-Delhi routes till March 2024. And perhaps in this particular matter, it's not just the covered systems that would have worked, but a joint inspection report that has come forward has also mentioned how signals were given and received between the two trains, but still the train landed up going from the up line to the loop line. Now, there are train lines that are up and down, going from one side to the other side. But there was already a good strain on the loop line. That is where the Coromandel Express ended up going instead of going on the up line, despite the signals.
When you say ended up going, the train can't go by itself, right? So obviously something went wrong. Is this the responsibility of the person who's piloting that particular train, or is this the responsibility of the signaling team that's supposed to keep an eye on which train is on which track at that time?
Well, Rahul, when we say that it's the fault, where the fault lies, basically it's an entire system. Because if you've given the signals and they were working, was there a miscommunication between the signal that was being given and that was received? And secondly, there are various points on the tracks of the trains that are supposed to change when a signal for going forward or line change is given. Was that point shifted or towards the upline when the signal was given? That is another matter of investigation. It can be a human error as well, and it can be an automated error as well, which is what the Railway Ministry is currently investigating. But the initial inquiry report that was submitted immediately after this massive accident has happened does point to the fact that there was a signaling issue. And whether this issue is completely a human error or an automated error is certainly a matter of investigation, for which a report will be submitted to the ministry. But it cannot be ruled out, because signals in India, largely railway signals, are automated. But there is a requirement of staff that runs the signaling department, as well as those loco pilots who have to look at the signals that have come and follow them and not change lines wrongly. Is what has happened in this particular case, where the loco moved from the up line to the loop line where the goods train was stationed. It got derailed. Signaling issues is one of the biggest reasons that derailments happen many times, and that is one of the areas that is currently a matter of investigation as well.
Okay, so we're told that 1,091 people have been impacted by this train accident, out of which 288, when the reports last came, are dead. 56 grievously injured and 747 have various kinds of injuries. I want to go across to Ritwik Mondal, who's in Balasore tracking this for us. Do we have a sense of, how many of these people who are in hospital are recovering? Especially I'm concerned about the 56, which the railway report says are grievously injured at the moment.
All right, I could remember, Rahul, that it was absolutely horrifying visuals when we reached last night at the accident site. But we did see through today that the priorities were to remove the trapped people or the bodies and right inside those from the mangle coaches of this the Coromandel Express. But now it has over, and the priorities are now to clear those the debris from the track, which is why now we can see that several cranes have been brought in to clean that particular track. But what as you rightly pointed out, there are several other concern. Those who are struggling for their lives in several hospitals surrounded, particularly in Balasore, we are given to understand many of them. It's at least nearly over 1,000 people, passengers, who were traveling in particularly these two passenger trains. One was Kolkata bound, Yashwantpur Express. Another was Chennai bound Coromandel Express, which had the massive impact of the accident. And in this particular, accident, over thousands passengers have been, impacted, and several have been undergoing treatments in hospital, and many of them, they are, struggling for life, what we have been learned. But as additional, medical facilities are being, provided to them, and what we have learned that additional team of doctors have also been summoned, and round the clock they are also monitoring the situations. Now situations were absolutely, it was an absolutely massacre-like situation last night when they were hurriedly, taken to nearby hospitals, particularly one stated in Balasore, in Kendupara, or Solo town. But now what we know, that situation are developing and the medical facilities as per the additional medical facilities, rather the advanced medical facilities are being provided to them. Okay. I will definitely leave you with these visuals that we can see that NDRF teams are now moving back from the this particular accident site. They really done a wonderful job since last night. I did see the team of NDRF and several team of NDRF personnel, they were summoned, and today since the VR that army was also called in, and later on when they realizes that these are the very crucial time to pull those debris, pull those bodies from those debris, which is why additional army forces were also called in. So now currently these are the tracks are being
Ritvik, we'll come back to you in a moment. I want to go across to Kirti Azad, leader of the Trinamool Congress, who's joining us on this broadcast. But before I go across to Mr. Azad, I want to show you what the Prime Minister said when he visited Balasore, and also what Mamata Banerjee said, an element of politics creeping in, completely avoidable at this time when there's been so much death and the country is trying to come to terms with this tragedy. Let's listen to the Prime Minister after he took stock of this tragedy, and the West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee, who was also near the accident site.
सरकार के लिए ये घटना अत्यंत गंभीर है। हर प्रकार की जांच के निर्देश दिए गए हैं और जो भी दोषी पाया जाएगा उसको सख्त से सख्त सजा हो, उसे बख्शा नहीं जाएगा। जिन परिवारजनों को इंजरी हुई है उनके लिए भी सरकार उनके उत्तम स्वास्थ्य के लिए कोई कोर कसर नहीं छोड़ेगी। जो परिजन हमने खोए हैं वो तो वापस नहीं ले पाएंगे, लेकिन सरकार उनके दुख में, उन परिजनों के दुख में उनके साथ है।
इतना लोगों को जिंदगी जैसे चला गया। मैंने तो सुना कि इसमें 500 भी हो सकता है। 3 डिब्बा अभी तक नहीं रेस्क्यू हुआ है।
सारा कंप्लीट हो गया दीदी।
आप कंप्लीट होने के बाद कितना हुआ? 238 कल था, उसका बाद
आज का जो ऑफिशियल स्टेट गवर्नमेंट का जो डेटा है वो 238।
Mr. Azad, at a time of such tragedy, for the former Railways Minister and your boss, the West Bengal Chief Minister, to try and openly politicize or seek to raise questions about the death toll, make it seem as if somehow something is being hidden, the real number isn't being given, the real number is much more. Now, these are very immature things for a very seasoned politician to be doing at a time of a terrible tragedy.
Well, it's definitely a terrible tragedy, but definitely anybody who's an elected person, whether he is an elected member of parliament or an MLA or a chief minister or a minister, you are going to ask these questions. And once you say that 3 bogies have not yet been checked, so obviously there are going to be more casualties. So there's nothing wrong in asking about it. And when you and I talk in India Today studio, we are not doing the relief work at Balasore, so we can talk about it. And we can talk about it, what is the failure? It's a system failure. It's the automatic line system failure which changes the line. They talked about derailment. That means, no checking, nothing has been done. There's so many things that are coming out of it. So it's quite definitely very devastating that has taken place due to the negligence of the Ministry of Railways and the Government of India.
No, while there have been some train accidents as recently as January 2022, 2017, December 2016, November 2016, there hasn't been a major tragedy of this kind. I'm going back for a very long time, say maybe 1990, where in Gaisal 290 people died. There were some big tragedies like the Gyaneshwari Express disaster in 2010. But the government can say this is a systemic issue. We're trying to make the changes as fast as is possible. 20,000 crore rupees are allocated every year for railway safety works, and we're trying to get the job done as efficiently as is humanly possible.
Minor mishaps, let me answer the first part of your question. The minor mishaps take place, but you said that no major accident has taken place. I think you need to go and check your records again. No, in 2016, Patna Indore Express.
One second.
115 people were killed.
Mr. Azad, so that you don't get this wrong, I'm saying a tragedy of this scale.
I'm waiting.
I'm not calling it a minor tragedy, okay? Whatever's happened in 2016, 17, 22, that's a very significant tragedy. The point I made was a tragedy of this scale. That's that. Don't lose that reference. But go on.
Patna-Indore Express, 115 people died. Do you think that is minor? 150 people were injured, and many of them grievously injured who became handicapped, 135 of them. So 115 killed, 135 became handicaps, and there were only 15 who recovered from that accident. This is, I'm talking about 2016, same government. Mamata Banerjee in 2011 and 12, she had introduced train collision avoidance system, which is called Suraksha Kavach now. It was introduced then. In 2019, they woke up after 2016 train accident, and they started working with 3 companies who make this. You know, there are 68,043 kilometers of lines, railway lines across the country, of which only 1,445 are covered under Suraksha. Only 2%, 98% is absolutely left like that. And once you talk about, I was watching a video where the Honorable Railway Minister says the anti-collusion system that we have, the Suraksha Kavach की एक ट्रेन इधर से आ रही होगी, एक इधर से आ रही होगी, तो दोनों रुक जाएगी. अगर एक आगे जा रही होगी, पीछे जा रही होगी, तो पीछे वाली रुक जाएगी. I mean, all that we were hearing. Where was that anti-collusion, that Suraksha Kavach system? Where was it that we've been listening to? Just to gain a few, make a few brownie points, you come up with the name of Suraksha Kavach, changing what Mamata Banerjee had done earlier. So there are big questions that have to be asked in this government. There's no railway budget 2017. No railway budget, nothing goes in there. There are lakhs of vacancies in the railways, which are for those who are linemen who check these where derailments take place. There are no people at the crossings that we generally have. There are basics that are required, are not there. You have a railway board, yes. You have these officer general managers, yes, GMs on the various zones. But what about the basic that should be there? And what we see now is negligence. There has been no maintenance if that's a signal failure. And if it is a signal failure, where was the Suraksha Kavach to stop the trains from colliding with each other?
No, some of these are very good questions. The fact that the Suraksha Kavach hasn't been implemented en masse, that it's just on 2% of the overall trail tracks. And also, I'm looking here at a CAG report which says that the overall expenditure on priority 1 works from the National Railway Safety Fund is actually showing a declining trend from 81.55% in 2017-18 to 73.6% in 2019-20. So the funds that are available are not being utilized 100%, and that again is a problem we will track. I'm going to slip into a break. We'll have more for you when we come back. We'll have officials who've been with the NDRF. We'll have officials from the Indian Railways joining us as well. We have our reporters on the ground. We're tracking the story very closely because questions need to be asked and systemic changes need to be brought so that if there are mechanisms that exist which can prevent an accident of this nature, they need to be made available and deployed where it's required the most. I'll slip into a break. We'll have more for you when we come back on the other side. Stay with us.
I was basically told that I am not going to get this disease ever again, and that my life is I can move ahead with my life, and this disease is sort of a past. But this disease came back again in 2013, and it was in May 2013 in fact, and I was told by the doctor that you have got TB again, and it was a huge shock for me. It was a very